What do you do as a Muslim if you hit rock bottom? Now, I recently hit rock bottom, a personal rock bottom. I won't say like it's necessarily rock bottom. Everybody's definition of rock bottom is going to be different. But for me, it was to the point where my health started to deteriorate. And you kind of know when when your health starts to take a hit, that's when you know that something's not going right. And that's what happened to me, right? I had a lot of stress, not necessarily stress, but I was trying a lot of things. Some of you guys know I've been working on a business, but it just wasn't working out. I was still consistent with my exercise, consistent with my diet. My sleep was on and off. Obviously, Fajr time has changed a lot. But what happened was I was starting to hit rock bottom. Some of the habits that I had during Ramadan, they were starting to slowly slip away. Some bad habits may have slipped in, right? So, what happens then? When you start to deprioritize your deen and then you start to make the dunya your main focus, then you'll start to feel it. Especially if you went from a Ramadan to just like after Ramadan and you're getting back out of your routine. It's like this thing, right? If you've done a bad habit, like a sin, and you stop doing that sin altogether, and then when you come back to doing it, if you ever start doing it, you'll feel uncomfortable. You'll feel this feeling of like a nerviness, right? So the same thing is like when you're in your deen, right? If you stop doing things like, for example, maybe tahajjud, right? If you did tahajjud for a whole month straight and you stop doing tahajjud, you're gonna feel the effects of it, right? If you wake up for Fajr, you're doing your Quran, you're reading Quran every single day, and then you stop reading the Quran a few days, you're gonna feel the effect of it, right? And personally, I fell off a little bit when it came to some of my things, my routine. I'm not gonna specify it, but it started to become a point where it started to deteriorate slowly but surely. Just started to deteriorate to the point where I ended up just not feeling well, right? I started getting sick, and obviously, like, there's 2 days where I could not do nothing, and yeah, I consider that as a rock bottom because finances, expenses were piling up, a lot of other things were happening, right? Things weren't going to my favor when it came to my business, right? So that's a big thing there. Now, the one thing that normally what would happen is I would just tell myself, oh, like I'd be in a cycle, like I would not know how to get out, right? But this time, the difference between previous times and this time, and this is a thing about Ramadan, this beauty of Ramadan, I just remembered how I felt during Ramadan. I kept reminding myself, remember, you were at this state during Ramadan. You got the most work done during Ramadan. You were able to do this during Ramadan. You were able to do that during Ramadan, right? So, and then it kind of reminded me, is like, you can do that. Like, imagine you can get to that place again. You just need to bring back those habits, right? So that was a big thing that I kept telling myself. And it's funny because they say, like, when you leave your deen, or when you leave the Quran, like, there's always something that's going to bring you back when Allah will test you with certain things. And for me, what happened was I got really sick one day. I woke up and I was just going through my routine. I was feeling down pretty much, like, for 2 weeks before that. I was like, man, I don't know the direction. I'm not sure where I'm going. Like, I'm not sure, like, expenses are piling up. I'm just not figuring this out. And then one day, it's just a regular day. I woke up and then I was going to the gym. I go do my workout. I feel off. Like, something feels off. I'm like, why do I feel? It wasn't even necessarily fatigue. It was just it felt off, right? So I went to jump rope. I was like, you know what? Let me try jumping rope because the jump rope would give me some energy. It didn't work. So what happened was, after I work out, as I'm going home, I'm like, okay, something's off. Like, you're not feeling well, and I felt it. And then from there, from that moment all the way to almost like 2 days later, I could barely do anything. I could not go on my computer. I could not work. Right? I couldn't even message the clients that I work with. I couldn't even tell them, hey, like, this is how I'm feeling. One day, I was at a point where I vomited a couple times. Right? Anytime I was eating, I was vomiting, and I just could not do anything. But what happened there was, in my head, there's a couple things that came in. I realized, okay, maybe Allah is maybe this is Allah's way of cleansing you from previous bad habits or sins and stuff like that. So I kind of took the positive behind that, right? Another thing was, it was a time for me to kind of just reflect. And I was able to think, okay, you're not able to do anything right now. How's your life going? How are things going? What's lacking? And it got me thinking, because like I work on a couple of projects, and I just realized that, okay, maybe there's some things I need to cut off from my life. Maybe there's some things that I need to fix. Obviously, I need to establish my connection with Allah. Who's there, right? Who reached out to me during this time, right? There's a lot of different things that came out of it. There's a lot of realizations, right? To the point where I started journaling again, something I hadn't done in months. Because prior to this, what happened was, I felt like I was on top, not necessarily on top, but I just finished my course. I felt like everything was starting to line up, right? And then one day it just kind of changed, right? It was a shift. And that's why sometimes you have to be careful with sharing your blessings with people. Obviously, hasad is a real thing, but it was a thing where it was kind of like, it kind of humbled me again. And it kind of took me to a place where it made me understand, you are nothing without Allah. You are just merely a human being. The actions you take, you're taking the actions, but nothing will be fulfilled unless Allah wills for it to happen. And that's something that really, really hit me. And throughout those few days where I was just resting, nothing else really mattered. Like everything, I was getting a lot of messages. People were calling me. Like my phone was being blown up. But nothing really mattered, right? Even though like some projects, nothing was happening. I noticed that like things were not moving. Nothing really happened, right? It was kind of like life just kind of went on, right? And that's kind of a thing where it's like, whether we're here or whether we're not here, things will move on. Things will move forward. And that's a huge, huge thing that we do need to understand, that this life is temporary. We're going to be here temporarily. We're not going to be here forever. And that's really what it is. And it kind of got me thinking, okay, I had one friend I talked to. She's like, oh, I couldn't message him. I told him, sorry, man. Like, I'm really sick. One day I told him, I saw I'm really sick. I just can't message him. Literally, after that, I couldn't message him for 2 days. I just couldn't message him. But what happened, he just told me, hey, like, think of what you actually do have, right? You're not homeless, right? You're making income off something that you've been wanting to do for a very, very long time. And you enjoy it. I enjoy what I do, alhamdulillah. That's one thing I really, really enjoy, right? I enjoy what I do. And alhamdulillah, I'm able to stay fit. Alhamdulillah, I'm married as well, right? So there's a lot of blessings that I can take in my life. And I'm healthy, right? Yes, I was sick those 2 days, but generally I'm pretty healthy, right? I have a pretty good diet, pretty balanced diet. I drink a good amount of water. But it's one of those things where sometimes it happens, right? Sometimes when you're feeling I felt like I wouldn't even say burnout, but it was just, my head was like, there's just a lot going on. And one thing I realized from Ramadan is, anytime I was going through some obstacles, I'd always go back to Allah. But during that time, after Ramadan that I was going through it, I was trying to find the answers through everything else, right? And I listened to an audiobook. It was talking about making dua. And that was this audiobook that I hadn't gone through in a few weeks, right? But then a bunch of YouTube videos started popping up, make dua, istighfar, make dua, istighfar, make dua, istighfar. And before I got sick, a few days before I got sick, I was making istighfar, like, I wasn't counting it, but I was just making it ongoing over and over and over and over and over and over again. The moment I got sick, I realized, maybe this is your answer to your istighfar. Maybe this is a way, Allah's way of cleansing you, because of everything that you may have done, maybe the wrong, maybe all the things that you need to work on. And it gave me time to reflect. Had I not, obviously I'd still just be moving forward. But being sick enabled me to reflect and think about, like, what's working, what's not working, what do I actually want, what do I actually need to do, right? What are things I need to fix in my own life? So this video isn't necessarily a video to say what you should do, but when you hit rock bottom, or your rock bottom, whatever it may be, whether you're severely in debt, Maybe you lost a loved one. Maybe your health is completely deteriorated, right? Maybe you have no direction in life. Maybe you just dealt with some heartbreak, right? For maybe you're going through a divorce. Remember this one thing. The source, everything else doesn't matter. Everything else in this life that you're looking at does not matter. YouTube videos, you can find some answers on there, right? You can find some answers in books, right? But the real answer is going to be through your connection with Allah. And that's also reading the Quran. Reading the Quran will help you. Even if you don't understand it, right? Just start by listening to it a little bit. Just bring it back into your life. Whether it's a couple verses for the day, or if it's just a couple pages, read the translation if you don't understand Arabic, right? Start taking a step back from everything else. Everything else in this dunya. Whatever you look at, whether it's this thing, right? It's you think that we're in this age of overstimulation where everything we need to always be stimulated. And that was my problem too. I was constantly listening to YouTube videos. Before I was just constantly listening to YouTube videos, just ongoing. And I was just like, okay, listen to YouTube. But what happens is you start to lose focus because you can only obtain a certain amount of knowledge or a certain amount every single like at a certain point, right? Before it starts to just become white noise. But what happens when you increase your ibadah, which is whether it's the Quran, istighfar is a huge one that you can do. It's very simple. You can just make istighfar, right? And making dua, just small little things like that. Maybe it's an act. Maybe it's an act of charity. Maybe it's helping your family with something. Maybe it's doing this. Maybe it's doing that, right? These small little acts can make a huge difference into your life. And you won't necessarily feel it, but if you look back and you reflect on it, you're like, oh wow, okay, this is the effect of this. And that's what kind of happened to me, right? Like I'm kind of in that situation. I was kind of in that situation where I needed to get back. So what happens? You're sick, you're feeling off, you're feeling absolutely down, you see nothing forward. What do you do now? Make istighfar. Pray. Ask Allah to guide you. Right? YouTube videos are great and you can find some answers on them, but the real answer is just through establishing and reconnecting with Allah. Your health will come and go. Whether you go to the gym, whether you don't go to the gym, your health, we all get sick at times, right? Obviously, you always want to make sure that you prevent it, which is why you take care of your health, right? Your family will come and go, whether you're traveling, whether someone passes away, whatever it may be, right? But of course, while you're here, you want to establish your connection with your family. Keep the ties with your family, right? Finances will go up and down. Sometimes you'll be up, sometimes you'll be down, right? But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't strive to make your rizq, make your money, right? But the one thing that's always going to be constant, the one thing that will always elevate you every time you go towards it, is your connection with Allah and your deeds, whatever it is that you're doing with the right intention. So for anyone who's hit rock bottom, you feel down, you feel like nothing's working, go back to Allah. Go back to Allah, and everything else, don't even worry about anything else. Just go back to Allah. Ask Allah to guide you first, right? Istighfar, ask Allah to forgive you, because no human being is perfect. We all have our shortcomings. Every single human being has their shortcomings, right? So ask Allah to forgive you. Istighfar is a huge one that you can do. There's a lot of videos on istighfar. You can look into that, but you can do istighfar. If that's the bare minimum that you can do, then do that, right? Of course, do your fard. Don't neglect your salah. Make sure you're always praying your salah, especially on time. And do your best to establish a connection with the Quran. If you can't do that just yet, just do istighfar, at least for now. Do something that moves you closer to Allah. Show that you're trying. Show that you're trying. It's not always about the act itself, it's about it's more about the effort that you're putting towards it, right? If you're putting effort towards it, maybe it's very hard for you to say astaghfirullah at this moment, but you're still saying it. Right? When I was sick, I was still saying it every now and then. I was like, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. I ask Allah, please forgive me while I was sick. I was like, please forgive me. Please forgive my shortcomings. Please help me find my way. And that's kind of how things went, right? And as time was going on, I've kind of started to find my way again, my rhythm again. But this is something we need to understand. We're human beings. So if you're feeling this way, I know it's not easy. We all go through our shortcomings. We are all human beings. But just make sure that you follow the Quran, the Sunnah. Strive towards Allah. And inshallah, you will find your way. Now, of course, as I kind of end off, I do online coaching. I do fitness. I do productivity. And I use Islamic principles. So if you're interested in that, check out the link down below. And we can hop on a call, see where you're at, and maybe see some of your roadblocks, and then we can have a conversation, see if we're the right fit. Otherwise, I also do have a 7-day mental reset PDF. And that's pretty much it. I hope that you found some benefits off this. If this benefited you, share this with a friend, share this with someone that may benefit from this. Because I know, like, from my own self, I go through ups and downs. We all go through ups and downs. This social media age is it's so fake. Like, it's one of those things where I don't even like Instagram myself. I don't use Instagram. Like, I don't use Instagram. I don't have it. I have it on my computer because sometimes I check my messages. But even then, I have a thing called Newsfeed Eradicator, which I cover in my coaching program. Right? But even on my phone, I don't keep Instagram on my phone. I don't keep it on my phone because I know how distracting. I know how like useless it is as a platform. Like, there's really no point of Instagram. And the only reason why I'm on it is because I'm building a business. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on it. Like, I have another account that I don't even use. I just use it for networking purposes. But really, it's something I can talk about in another video. But that's another thing too we can talk about. But just stay hopeful. You got this. And this is a message to myself before anyone else. And again, like I said, if you find any benefits from this, share this with a friend, family member. Inshallah, you got this. Don't worry. Don't despair. Allah's got you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.